Arrival and first impressions. The transport shuttle landed with a heavy thud on the alien soil, sending a cloud of dust into the air. Private First Class Jonathan Jax Morgan stepped off the ramp, his eyes scanning the unfamiliar terrain. He was the newest member of an elite alien squad, known for their relentless efficiency and unyielding camaraderie. As he adjusted the strap on his heavy pack, Jax felt the weight of the alien stares upon him. "What's up with him?" Lieutenant Graff, a towering Gregorian with emerald scales, asked his fellow squadmates as they sat around the campfire. "Not sure," Zura, a sleek and agile Zephyran, replied while heating her meal pack. "He just landed. Maybe he's not cut out for this job." Graff chuckled. "He looks like he's seen a ghost. We haven't even faced any real danger yet." Jax heard their murmurs, but chose to ignore them. He had been in tougher situations before and knew the importance of staying alert. He positioned himself on the outskirts of the camp, his rifle within arm's reach. He had learned early on that complacency was the enemy. "Watch this," Brass said, picking up a small rock and tossing it towards Jax. In an instant, Jax grabbed his rifle and rolled into a prone position, scanning the perimeter with practiced precision. The aliens around the fire burst into laughter. "A bit jumpy, aren't we?" Graff taunted. Jax didn't respond. He remained focused, his eyes darting through the darkened landscape. "What's going on here?" Sergeant Drax, a stern and battle-hardened Sarthian, emerged from his tent. He was not one for unnecessary chatter and valued discipline above all else. "Just welcoming the new guy," Grass said with a smirk. Drax shot him a disapproving look before turning to Jax. "Private, at ease." Jax lowered his rifle and nodded. "Yes, sir." Drax squatted next to the fire, his three-fingered hands resting on his knees. "I'd advise against hazing the new guy," he said to the group. "Why's that?" Zura asked, clearly disappointed. Drax's eyes narrowed as he looked at the newcomer. "I've read his file. He's not your typical recruit. Show some respect." The squad fell silent, curiosity piqued by their sergeant's words. Drax made his way to Jax, who was still on high alert. "Mind if I sit?" he asked. Jax shook his head. "Not at all, sir." Drax settled down beside him. "Good trek today?" Jax nodded. "Yes, sir." Drax hesitated for a moment before continuing. "You found this campsite?" "No, sir," Jax replied. "I tracked the previous occupants, neutralized them, and secured the area." Drax raised an eyebrow. "Impressive. I suspected as much." Jax didn't respond, his eyes never leaving the tree line. "You're a legend, you know," Drax said quietly. "Your tales are whispered with respect throughout the galaxy." "It's always the same," Jax replied, his voice devoid of emotion. "Wake up, brief, prepare, mission, exit, debrief, stasis." Drax nodded, understanding the monotony of a soldier's life. "This mission," he began, "we're tasked with breaking a secondary supply line." "It's not a supply line," Jax corrected, "and we don't have the manpower or firepower to break it." Drax's heart sank. "Do I want to know?" "No," Jax said, standing up and shouldering his rifle. "If you don't kill the fire and go silent, you'll be dead in an hour." Drax watched as Jax faded into the darkness, his silhouette blending with the night. "What about you?" he called after him. "I'll be dead or extracted in 5 hours," Jax replied, a rare smile crossing his lips. "Thanks for the lift." With that, he disappeared, leaving Drax to ponder the enigmatic human's words. The sergeant quickly extinguished the fire and motioned for his squad to stay silent. They followed his lead, their earlier amusement replaced with a growing respect for the human newcomer. The night was unnervingly quiet after Jax's departure. The squad huddled together, their senses heightened. Drax's mind raced with questions about the human's cryptic warning. He trusted Jax's instincts, knowing that their survival depended on it. As dawn approached, the squad packed up their camp in silence, moving with practiced efficiency. They followed Jax's path, carefully avoiding any potential traps or ambushes. Drax led the way, his eyes scanning the horizon for any sign of their enigmatic comrade. After hours of cautious travel, they reached a ridge overlooking a sprawling enemy encampment. Drax signaled for the squad to halt and crouch down, using his binoculars to survey the area. "What do you see?" Zura whispered, her keen eyes focused on the encampment. "Heavy fortifications," Drax replied. "Multiple patrols. This isn't just a supply line, it's a major outpost." Graf frowned. "How are we supposed to break through that?" "We don't," Drax said. "We gather intelligence and report back. But first, we need to find Jax." As they descended the ridge, a faint rustling caught their attention. The squad tensed, weapons at the ready. Jax emerged from the underbrush, his face smeared with mud for camouflage. "Follow me," he said quietly, leading them to a concealed vantage point closer to the enemy camp. "What's the plan?" Drax asked, impressed by Jax's stealth. "We need to create a diversion," Jax explained. "Draw their forces away from the main base. Then we can slip in and gather the intel we need." "How do we do that?" Graf asked, skepticism evident in his voice. Jax's eyes gleamed with a fierce determination. "Leave that to me." The squad watched as Jax set to work, reading makeshift explosives from their limited supplies. His hands moved with practiced precision, a testament to his training and experience. Within minutes, he had crafted a series of devices that would create enough chaos to distract the enemy. "Get ready," Jax said, handing each squad member a detonator. "On my signal, set them off and retreat to the extraction point." Drax nodded, trusting the human's judgment. "You heard him. Let's move." As they spread out and took their positions, Jax crept closer to the enemy camp, his movements silent and deliberate. He placed the explosives in strategic locations, ensuring maximum impact. The squad held their breath, waiting for his signal. A sudden explosion rocked the camp, followed by a series of smaller blasts. The enemy forces scrambled, their attention diverted by the chaos. Drax and his squad triggered their detonators, adding to the confusion. "Go, go, go," Drax ordered, leading his squad through the disarray. They navigated the enemy camp with precision, gathering vital intelligence on troop movements and supply routes. The mission was going smoothly until a patrol spotted them. Shots rang out, and the squad dove for cover. "Return fire," Drax commanded, his voice steady despite the danger. The squad fought with determination, their training kicking in. Jax appeared beside them, his rifle blazing. Together, they held off the enemy long enough to complete their mission. "Fall back," Drax shouted, covering their retreat. They sprinted towards the extraction point, the enemy hot on their heels. Just as it seemed they would be overrun, a transport shuttle swooped in, its guns blazing. The squad scrambled aboard, the hatch closing behind them. "Mission accomplished," Jax said, breathing heavily. Drax nodded, relief washing over him. "You did good, Private. Real good." As the shuttle ascended, the squad watched the enemy camp fade into the distance. They had faced overwhelming odds and emerged victorious, thanks to the hidden brilliance of their human newcomer. The debrief. Back at base, the squad gathered in the debriefing room, their faces etched with exhaustion and pride. The mission had been a success, and they owed it all to Jax's quick thinking and unwavering resolve. Commander Thorne, a grizzled veteran with a stern demeanor, entered the room. He scanned the squad, his gaze settling on Jax. "Well done, team. Your efforts have provided us with crucial intelligence." Drax stepped forward. "It was all thanks to Private Morgan, sir. He was instrumental in the success of the mission." Thorne nodded. "I've read his file. I expected nothing less." Jax remained silent, his expression unreadable. He was used to praise, but found little satisfaction in it. His mind was already focused on the next mission, the next challenge. Thorne turned to the squad. "You all performed admirably. Take some time to rest and recover. Dismissed." As the squad filed out of the room, Drax approached Jax. "You did good out there. You have my respect." "Thank you, sir," Jax replied. Drax nodded, knowing that those few words held a wealth of meaning. Jax was a man of action, not words, and his deeds spoke volumes. In the days that followed, the squad's camaraderie grew stronger. They trained together, honing their skills and learning from each other. Jax's presence had a profound impact on them, pushing them to be better, to strive for excellence. One evening, as they gathered around the campfire, Graf raised a toast. "To Jax, the man who turned our world upside down." The squad cheered, clinking their cups together. Jax smiled, feeling a sense of belonging he hadn't felt in years. For the first time in a long while, he allowed himself to relax. A new mission. The camaraderie was short-lived as a new mission quickly loomed over the squad. This time, the stakes were higher. They were tasked with infiltrating a heavily fortified enemy installation to retrieve vital intelligence. The operation required precision, stealth, and above all, trust among the team members. Commander Thorne briefed them in the war room, a holographic map of the target area hovering above the table. "This installation is key to their operations. It's heavily guarded, and failure is not an option. You have 48 hours to get in, retrieve the data, and get out." Drax looked at his team, each member's face reflecting a mixture of determination and anxiety. "We've got this," he said confidently. "Jax, any insights?" Jax studied the map, his mind racing with possibilities. "The approach will be the hardest part. We'll need a distraction, something big enough to draw their attention away from the main entrance." Graf nodded. "We can rig some of our remaining explosives. That should give us a window." "Agreed," Drax said. "Let's move out." As they geared up, the weight of the mission settled over them. This wasn't just about survival. It was about ensuring the safety of countless lives. Jax felt a familiar surge of responsibility, a burden he had carried for centuries. The journey to the enemy installation was tense and silent. Each step was calculated, every sound scrutinized. They moved through dense forests and rocky terrain, their senses attuned to any sign of danger. When they reached the outskirts of the installation, Jax took point, leading them to a vantage point overlooking the heavily guarded entrance. The enemy forces were numerous and well-armed, patrolling with military precision. "Graf, Zura, you set the charges," Drax ordered. "Jax, you and I will find another way in." The team split up, each member moving with practiced stealth. Graf and Zura worked quickly, placing the explosives in key locations, while Jax and Drax circled around, searching for an unguarded entry point. "Over here," Jax whispered, pointing to a narrow drainage tunnel partially concealed by foliage. Drax nodded. "Good find, let's go." They squeezed through the tunnel, emerging inside the installation's perimeter. The interior was a maze of corridors and security checkpoints. Jax's mind worked overtime, memorizing the layout and calculating the best route to their target. "Stay close," Jax instructed, leading Drax through the labyrinthine structure. They encountered several guards, but Jax's reflexes were razor-sharp, and he dispatched them with silent efficiency. Drax watched in awe, recognizing the skill and precision of a seasoned warrior. As they approached the central data core, Jax signaled for Drax to halt. "This is it," he said. "Cover me while I access the terminal." Drax took up a defensive position, his weapon ready. Jax hacked into the system, his fingers flying across the keyboard. The screen lit up with streams of data, and he quickly downloaded the files they needed. "Got it," Jax said, securing the data drive. "Let's move." They retraced their steps, avoiding detection as they made their way back to the drainage tunnel. Just as they emerged outside, a massive explosion rocked the installation, signaling that Graf and Zura had set off their charges. "Go, go, go," Drax urged, leading the team back through the forest. The explosion had drawn the enemy's attention, but it also meant they had to move fast. Enemy reinforcements were on their trail, and the extraction point was still a few miles away. Jax's mind raced, formulating a plan to evade their pursuers. "We need to split up," he said. "Graf, Zura, head east, and set another diversion. Drax and I will head north to the extraction point." "Understood," Graf said, already moving. The team split up, and Jax led Drax through the dense underbrush, their movements swift and silent. The enemy was close behind, their shouts and footsteps growing louder. "Keep moving," Jax urged, pushing Drax to his limits. They reached a river and quickly crossed it, the cold water a stark contrast to the heat of pursuit. On the other side, Jax found a concealed cave and led Drax inside. They waited, listening as the enemy forces searched the area. "Stay quiet," Jax whispered, his ears tuned to every sound. Minutes passed like hours, but eventually, the enemy moved on, their search taking them further away. Jax and Drax emerged from the cave, drenched and exhausted but undetected. "We need to keep moving," Jax said, helping Drax to his feet. They pushed on, their determination unwavering. When they finally reached the extraction point, the transport shuttle was waiting, engines running. Graf and Zura arrived moments later, covered in dirt and grime but alive. "Everyone on board," Drax ordered, relief evident in his voice. The shuttle lifted off, and they watched the enemy installation fade into the distance. They had accomplished their mission, but the cost had been high. Back at base, the debriefing was brief. Commander Thorne praised their efforts, emphasizing the importance of the data they had retrieved, but the toll of the mission was evident in their weary faces. As they sat around the campfire that night, the bond between them stronger than ever, Jax reflected on the journey. He had found a place among these aliens, a sense of purpose that had eluded him for centuries, and for the first time in a long while, he allowed himself to hope. The unexpected alliance. The squad had barely recovered from their last mission when a new challenge emerged. An unexpected message arrived from an alien faction known for their neutrality, the Eldreth. They proposed an alliance, offering intelligence on a shared enemy. Commander Thorne called the squad to the war room, the tension palpable. "The Eldreth have never allied with anyone," he began, "but their information could be invaluable. Drax, I want you to lead this mission. Make contact and secure the alliance." Jax and Drax exchanged a glance, understanding the gravity of the task. The Eldreth were known for their advanced technology and strategic acumen. Winning their trust would be no small feat. As they prepared for the mission, the squad's camaraderie shone through. Graf and Zura offered their support, ready to assist in any way they could. They knew the success of this mission could turn the tide of the war. The journey to the Eldreth outpost was fraught with uncertainty. The landscape was alien and treacherous, but Jax's keen senses and Drax's tactical mind guided them through. When they finally reached the outpost, they were met by a delegation of Eldreth warriors, their silver armor gleaming in the sunlight. "Welcome," their leader, High Commander Ilara, said with a regal nod. "We have much to discuss." Jax and Drax followed her into the outpost, a sleek and technologically advanced facility. The Eldreth were known for their secrecy, and the squad couldn't help but feel a mix of awe and apprehension. Ilara led them to a council chamber, where holographic maps and data streams filled the air. "We have identified a common enemy," she began, her voice steady and authoritative. "The Carthon Dominion. They threaten us both, and an alliance could ensure our mutual survival." Drax nodded. "We are aware of the Carthon. What do you propose?" Ilara activated a holographic display showing detailed schematics of Carthon fortifications and troop movements. "We share this intelligence with you, and in return, you assist us in a coordinated strike. Together, we can cripple their operations." Jax studied the data, impressed by the Eldreth's thoroughness. "This could work," he said, turning to Drax. "But we'll need to synchronize our efforts perfectly." Ilara's eyes met Jax's, her expression unreadable. "We trust in your abilities, human. Your reputation precedes you." The alliance was sealed, and the combined forces of the squad and the Eldreth prepared for the strike. The mission required precise timing and flawless execution. Failure was not an option. As they launched the attack, the battlefield erupted in chaos. The Carthan forces were taken by surprise, their defenses crumbling under the combined assault. Jax led the charge, his rifle blazing and his strategic mind constantly adapting to the unfolding battle. Drax coordinated the efforts on the ground, his tactical prowess ensuring that every move was calculated and effective. The Eldreth warriors fought with unparalleled skill, their advanced technology giving them a distinct advantage. The battle raged on, but the tide was turning in their favor. Jax and Drax fought side by side, their bond as strong as ever. They had faced countless challenges together, and this was no different. When the dust finally settled, the Carthan forces lay defeated. The alliance had proven successful, and the threat to their mutual survival had been neutralized. Back at the Eldreth outpost, High Commander Elara addressed the squad. "You have our gratitude," she said. "This victory would not have been possible without your bravery and skill." Drax nodded, his respect for the Eldreth evident. "It was an honor to fight alongside you." Jax remained silent, his mind already racing with thoughts of the next challenge. He knew the war was far from over, but for now, they had secured a vital victory. As they returned to base, the squad reflected on the journey. They had forged an unexpected alliance, faced insurmountable odds, and emerged victorious. The bond between them had only grown stronger, and they knew that together they could overcome any obstacle. The war continued, but so did their resolve. They were more than just soldiers. They were a family, united by a shared purpose and an unbreakable bond. And as long as they stood together, there was no challenge they couldn't face. The final stand. The war had reached its climax. The Carthan Dominion, weakened by the combined efforts of the squad and the Eldreth, was preparing for a final desperate assault. The fate of their world hung in the balance, and the squad knew that this would be their most critical mission yet. Commander Thorne addressed them in the war room, the tension palpable. "This is it," he said, his voice steady. "The Carthan are throwing everything they have at us. We need to hold the line and ensure they don't break through." Jax, Drax, Graf, and Zura stood ready, their expressions grim but determined. They had fought countless battles together, but this one felt different. The stakes were higher, and the enemy more desperate. As they prepared for the assault, the squad's camaraderie shone through. Jax felt a surge of pride and responsibility. He had found a place among these aliens, a sense of purpose that had eluded him for centuries. Now he was determined to see this through. The battlefield was a chaotic blend of smoke, fire, and screams. The Carthan forces came in waves, their desperation driving them forward, but the squad stood firm, their resolve unyielding. Jax led the charge, his rifle blazing and his mind constantly adapting to the shifting battlefield. Drax coordinated their efforts, his tactical mind ensuring that every move was calculated and effective. Graf and Zura fought with unmatched ferocity, their determination fueling their every action. The battle raged on, each moment a test of their strength and resolve. The Carthan forces were relentless, but the squad held the line. They fought as one, their bond unbreakable. As the sun began to set, casting an eerie glow over the battlefield, Jax knew they were nearing the end. The Carthan forces were dwindling, their assault losing momentum. But the cost had been high, and the squad was exhausted. In the final moments of the battle, Jax found himself face to face with the Carthan commander. The alien was a towering figure, its eyes filled with hatred and desperation. "This ends now," Jax said, his voice steady despite the chaos around him. The Carthan commander lunged, but Jax was ready. With a swift and precise movement, he disarmed the alien and delivered a final decisive blow. The commander fell, and with it, the last vestiges of the Carthan assault crumbled. The battlefield fell silent, the smoke slowly clearing to reveal the aftermath. The squad stood together, battered but victorious. They had held the line, ensuring the safety of their world. Back at base, Commander Thorne praised their efforts, emphasizing the importance of their victory. But the toll of the battle was evident in their weary faces. As they gathered around the campfire that night, the bond between them stronger than ever, Jax reflected on the journey. They had faced countless challenges, forged unexpected alliances, and emerged victorious. They were more than just soldiers. They were a family, united by a shared purpose and an unbreakable bond. For the first time in a long while, Jax allowed himself to hope. The war was far from over, but they had proven that together they could overcome any obstacle. And as long as they stood together, there was no challenge they couldn't face. The future was uncertain, but the squad was ready. They had faced the worst the enemy could throw at them and emerged victorious. And with their bonds stronger than ever, they knew that no matter what came next, they would face it together. A new dawn. The war had taken its toll on everyone, but the victory over the Carthon Dominion had given them a moment of respite. The squad knew that the peace they had fought so hard for was fragile and that new challenges would arise. But for now, they could afford to breathe, to regroup, and to rebuild. Commander Thorne called the squad to the war room one last time. "You've done the impossible," he said, his voice filled with pride. "Because of you, we've secured a future for our people. But we must remain vigilant. The galaxy is vast, and threats will always emerge." Jax, Drax, Graf, and Zura nodded in unison. They understood the reality of their situation. Peace was never permanent, but they had proven their ability to protect it. As they dispersed, Jax found himself wandering through the base. The scars of battle were everywhere, but so was the spirit of resilience. He saw soldiers and civilians working side by side, repairing damage and rebuilding their lives. He found Drax by the training grounds, overseeing new recruits. "They're eager," Drax said with a smile. "Reminds me of us when we started." Jax nodded. "They'll need all the training they can get. The peace won't last forever." Drax's expression turned serious. "I know, but we'll be ready, and so will they." In the following weeks, the squad focused on training and preparing for the future. They shared their experiences, passing on their knowledge to the new recruits. The base became a beacon of hope, a symbol of what could be achieved through unity and determination. One evening, as they gathered around the campfire, Jax felt a sense of peace. They had faced unimaginable odds and emerged stronger. He looked at his comrades, each one a testament to resilience and courage. Graf raised a toast, "To us and to the future." They clinked their cups together, the firelight casting a warm glow over their faces. Jax felt a sense of belonging, a feeling that he had found his place among these extraordinary beings. The night sky was clear, the stars shining brightly. As Jax looked up, he couldn't help but feel a sense of wonder. The galaxy was vast, filled with endless possibilities and challenges. But with his friends by his side, he knew they could face anything. For now, they would enjoy this moment of peace. They would continue to train, to prepare, and to build a future worth fighting for. And when the time came, they would stand together, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The squad's journey was far from over, but they had proven their strength, their resilience, and their unity. They were more than just soldiers. They were a family, bound by a shared purpose and an unbreakable bond. As the fire crackled and the night grew darker, Jax allowed himself to dream. The war had taken much from them, but it had also given them something precious, a reason to hope, to fight, and to believe in a better future. And as long as they stood together, there was nothing they couldn't achieve. The dawn of a new day was on the horizon, and the squad was ready to face it head-on, united and unbreakable.